Have you ever wondered about the towns surrounding Columbia, Missouri? Again, the University of Missouri is centered here in this college town of Columbia, Missouri. Maybe it's a little busy for you. Maybe you're wanting a little more suburbs, a little more country land, or maybe just a slightly smaller town, but that is within close distance to Columbia and the amenities and opportunities that Columbia will provide, whether it be job or entertainment or whatever it may be. Have you ever wondered again about what areas surrounding Columbia might be interesting or of opportunity for you? Well, in this video, we're going to go over all the closest, most notable towns around Columbia, kind of go over the most notable details about those towns and see if any of them are the right fit for you. Again, though, I am Noah Cochran, a real estate agent here in Central Missouri, especially Columbia, Missouri, but all the surrounding areas as well. Just trying to help folks, especially who are relocating here, but really just moving here in general, making some type of buy or move or whatever it may be. Trying to help folks learn about the area, buy that home, close the deal, whatever it is. So again, always feel free to reach out to me if you're looking to make some type of move or learn about this area more. I would always love to be of assistance. So the towns I'm going to go over in this video are Boonville, Fulton, Moberly, Centralia, Hawesville, and Ashland. For the ones that are most notably connected with Columbia. And again, that is Moberly, Centralia, and Hawesville. Those are all north and northeast. And then down more south is Ashland. Ashland is between Jeff City and Columbia. And then out west, we got Boonville. Fayette is also out there a little further west. And then east, we have Fulton. To begin in the south, we have Ashland. Now, Ashland is known for being very nice, kind of more modernized neighborhood. You're going to find very few, I guess you could call it, older-timey town scenario vibe. Ashland is much newer, modern, nice neighborhoods. Most of it is neighborhoods, like rather dense neighborhoods, I guess you could say, just kind of your normal typical neighborhoods. But as you get closer to Hartsburg, you're going to have certainly more country options. Again, there's less kind of buying and selling out there, but you can definitely find options in the more country living style. Now, before I go any further into these other towns, I do want to say this. I'm not going to go over exactly what all these towns have as far as stores, but be prepared for most of these towns, just by default, to not have a lot of the stores you're looking for. Most of the time, if you're wanting to do extensive shopping, whether it be hardware shopping or extensive grocery shopping, a lot of times you're going to have to go into Columbia. Now, having said that, a lot of these towns do have smaller chain grocery stores. Like, for instance, Centralia has a large Pringers, and Moberly will also have your Walmart and different hardware stores. So I say all that to say, just Google if you end up looking at a specific one of these towns, just make sure you Google what stores these towns have. Like Fulton definitely has a Mosers and other facilities. Boonville has very few compared to a lot of these. Centralia is going to have more than others, but less than others. Things like Mexico, actually, which is the farthest out, actually does have a Walmart, while Centralia does not have a Walmart. So things you just want to Google, does this town have the store or shopping or whatever you're wanting to know you're looking for? As far as restaurants, again, though, and clothes shopping and things like that, or more, I guess you could call it advanced or whatever, detailed hardware shopping, you're probably going to have to go to Columbia. But again, all these towns I'm talking about are usually a maximum of 30 minutes. Moberly is about 35 minutes north. Centralia is about 25 minutes. Fulton's about 30 minutes. Ashland's about 15 minutes. Boonville's about, depending, again, from where you're coming in Columbia, but Boonville's about, 15, 20 minutes maximum. Same with Fayette. So all these towns, very close as far as driving, not too much of a pain to get in and do some shopping. Or even a lot of folks, as you'll see in the traffic, if you're driving on like Route B from Centralia to Columbia, there's a lot of folks in Centralia and all these surrounding satellite towns that actually work in Columbia, because Columbia obviously offers the most work and job opportunity options. But anyway, I digress. Moving very quickly over to Boonville and Fayette. These are more of older towns. You will have it a little rougher area, I will be honest, but by no means does it mean there's no options. I probably have spent the least time over in the west in Boonville and Fayette, just because there is probably the least amount of movement over there in general compared to some of these other towns. But again, they are more of an older town compared to Ashland. So if you're wanting more modernized, go Ashland. But if you like the older, more country vibe, things like that, definitely check out Boonville and even Fayette, though Fayette sometimes is known for being a little rougher in some areas. There are certainly good places to check out in Fayette as well. And then up north, actually, one of the most interesting options is Moberly. Now, again, you can go online and you'll see people yapping about how much they dislike Moberly for whatever reason. And Moberly has its flaws, like every place has its flaws. But despite actually some streets being kind of older, run down, things like that, Moberly is actually fairly not that bad as far as like, crime or bad things like that going on in Moberly. So despite some streets being older and rougher, it actually is better than Columbia in some of those, things you don't want to be around. We'll just put it that way. And it's just, again, a straight shot on 63 to Columbia, so real easy drive, rent, purchasing much cheaper in Moberly. You can get a decent home for under 200K, so much cheaper in Moberly than it's going to be in Columbia for sure. Plus, Moberly is going to have the most options as far as buying a home. There's a good amount of movement and kind of change in sales happening in Moberly, especially compared to places like Boonville. Much more of a city, a town than Boonville is and other towns are. So again, though, Moberly compared to, say, Ashland is much more modern, going to be more expensive. But if you're looking at the cheaper, older style, or actually you can find nice homes in Moberly too. So if you want to spend more money, absolutely Moberly is still an option. There's nicer neighborhoods as well if you want to upgrade the area you're in. But again, Moberly is actually one of the best places to check out, especially if you're looking in the lower price ranges. But even in the higher price ranges, if you're wanting more space, less people, easy drive to Columbia, Moberly is definitely a good place to check out. And I know a lot of people who like it, despite some of the people that are not a big fan. All right, next, Hawesville. And Hawesville is one of the most growing towns right outside Columbia. And it is right outside Columbia. I actually currently live in Hawesville. It is right outside Columbia again. Very much growing, to the point though that the houses and the land are going up very high. So if you're wanting to kind of escape the price of Columbia, Hawesville may not be the place for you. Having said that, if you want the more country lifestyle away from people and yet still very close, Hawesville is definitely the place for you. Now, again, there are more dense neighborhoods, but in general, Hawesville is the most space you're going to get with the closest proximity to Columbia. Then we go a little further northeast and we get to Centralia. Now, Centralia, a lot of people love. There are a lot of people who really love Centralia. First of all, there are some factories over there like Hubbell that you can find a lot of job opportunities with, and they employ a lot of people over there. But also Centralia is just a very cute town. We got light posts on the roadways. It's just a very nice place to walk and live. And again, there are a lot more country options out kind of between the Hawesville Centralia area if you're looking at that. And the downtown of Centralia is very cute, very nice place just to go walk, some coffee shops. I know some people who really love it. So Centralia, definitely worth checking out. I will say though about Centralia, has a lot less turnover than, say, Moberly. Now, Centralia will definitely have turnover for sure, but compared to Moberly, just, off me watching the markets for a long time over the last couple years, Centralia, definitely less turnover than Moberly, so just be prepared for having less options than, say, someplace like Moberly. Then lastly, very quickly, I just want to talk about Fulton. Fulton, again, is east. If you go on I-70, if you're in Columbia, just take straight I-70 east, you will get straight to Fulton. Now, Fulton is actually, again, one of the more growing towns like Hawesville, rapidly growing in a lot of different areas. It is more older as you get to central Fulton. They're definitely more older town, again, compared to Ashland. But in general, Fulton is a growing town. It has a fairly good amount of shopping options compared to, again, places like Boonville or even like Hawesville and Centralia, a lot more shopping options, or even Ashland for that matter. So Fulton is definitely another good place to check out, especially if you want more country living options. There's going to be more country living options out there. But anyway, I just want to quickly run down those different names of those cities just so you at least have an idea of what's out there. Again, I didn't go over the details of these different towns. I just kind of want you guys to have a mental knowledge of what options are out there and what areas you should search in. If you want further information about any of these areas, please just reach out to me. I would always love to provide that information. Leave a comment, shoot me a text, show up out of nowhere. Again, I would always love to help get that information for you or help you make that move or that relocation to help you buy that new home you are searching for. But anyway, folks, I yapped for too long. So until next time, you have a good one.